morning, friends. Thanks for being here with us this morning. We're just going to get right into it. We're starting a little bit behind my scheduled time that I like to start, so thanks for being here. This is Journey Home Meditation, and this is our morning sit. So if this is your first time here today or your 200th time here today, thanks for being here. Just to let you know, we're going to be doing a little bit of breath work together. I'll share some poetry and maybe have some contemplative discussion, or it's probably going to be a monologue because I don't have the technology in place right now. I mean, I do have the technology. I could have anybody on, but to be honest, I don't have people reaching out asking if they would like to, or saying that they would like to join in on the morning sit. So if you would like to join in on the morning sit, please send me a message and we can have a discussion about some of these things. If you have a practice that you would like to share, or a particular discussion relevant to the practices that we share here, I would love to speak with you. That being said, also liking and sharing and commenting on these posts really does help to get it into more people's feeds. What a strange word. What a strange... The way that we use language is very telling to how we view the technologies in our life. And so I've always found that one to be quite prescient, to say that this is a feed. Because we are feeding. We're feeding our minds. We're feeding our beliefs. We're feeding this this machine of identity that is creating so much content for us to feed into. So, and that's not all cynical. I think it's important to remember that we are ingesting. We're ingesting each other's words. We're ingesting each other's energies and emotions. We are turning those into the stuffs that make up who we are. Literally changing the shape and future of our body and the way that we live on this world. So, yeah, I think it is fitting that this is called a feed. And the whole point of this was to say, if you appreciate this work and you appreciate this practice, sharing it on any of your social medias is a really helpful way to get this into the hands of others who may also benefit. And the more of us that are sharing in these practices, the more likely we are going to have a bounty of discussion and conversation. So, yeah. Let's increase our bounty, shall we? All right. We'll begin as we like to begin here, with just a few moments of silent space to collect our breath. Taking this pause is a wonderful opportunity to begin to bring our awareness inside of our body. See how we are reacting to the stimulus of the day, whether it's that cup of coffee or 2 or 4 that you may have had this morning already, or Whether it's the way that you may have slept last night, still grinding into your shoulder or your neck. If you haven't yet had an opportunity to pause and be with the self, and take this time to become familiar with what it is that you're carrying in your body this morning. And before we begin, let's have 3 shared intentional breaths. With this breathing practice, we're going to be breathing in through our nose to the bottom of our bellies. If your nose is clogged, if you have allergies, or just have a difficult time breathing in your nose, that's okay. You can breathe in your mouth. But the practice here is to breathe with the diaphragm pulling downward into our bellies. So one of the reasons I encourage breathing in through the nose as often as you can is it restricts the breath, and that causes the diaphragm to work a little bit harder. And this use of this muscle and this breathing function, breathing the diaphragm all the way down to the bottom of the belly, has so many benefits into our body, our central nervous system, our digestion. And it begins to create a relationship that we have with our breath and with the world around us that brings calm from inside of the body outward. And this is really helpful when we live and are functioning in spaces that are not calm. And so much of our lives is not calm, from traffic to the political landscape to the social media barrage of information. The emotional instability that comes with not knowing the security of our future, the security of our homes or our physical health, our ability to feed ourselves and our families and one another. All of this stress has a strong effect on our bodies. But if we take this opportunity to learn how to breathe to the depth of our belly, this is what it is to breathe deeply. It's not swallowing all of the breath that you can at once. It's interesting when you say to somebody, hey, take a couple of breaths. The first thing that I see people do so often is go, and then they say, I try, but this just doesn't work for me. This just doesn't work. And I say, actually it is. It's working exactly how it's supposed to. When you breathe in that way, you're breathing as if you're ready to fight or to have to run away from something. Our ability to breathe with our mouth and these deep gulping breaths into our chest, directly straight shot to the lungs, that increases our adrenaline and our cortisol levels go up, and we become prepared for what we might need to do. We're one of those species that can breathe with our mouths so that when we run, we can run farther distances and have the ability to cool our body and gulp air as needed. Whereas when I say, hey, let's take a couple deep breaths, and we breathe in through our nose deeply into our body, going down into the lowest parts of our belly, going deep into the breath. You can witness on a person's face and in their body and their posture, within 2 or 3 breaths, an entire shift into relaxation, almost across the board. There's a lot of good reasons for that, and I've talked about them a lot on this program, so I won't go into it too far, but just try it with these few breaths together. We're going to breathe in through our nose to the bottom of our bellies. We're going to hold our bodies in such a way that it facilitates this breath. So I'm seated right now with my legs crossed in what's called half lotus position. Um, you can sit in any cross-legged position that you'd like, or legs outstretched. However it is you're sitting, what your goal is going to be is to have your back as straight as you can hold it without strain. An important factor here. We don't want to stress or strain ourselves, but we do want to open our front bodies, opening our chest and our heart, bringing the shoulder blades slightly together in the back, just a little bit. Palms facing upward to roll those shoulder joints open. Relax the neck, the shoulders, the face. Relax your eyes, your tongue, the back of your head, the top of your head. And in through the nose, slowly, full, and out of the mouth, slowly and completely. 3 breaths together. And breathing in. And breathing out. And breathing in. And breathing out. And one more together. Breathing in. And as you return to a more natural cycle of breath, notice any shift in your body. Become aware of any change in the quality of your thoughts today. Were you having a racing mind and it's began to calm, or are you feeling like you can access your emotions more gently, or are you feeling more guarded? Where are you in your physical body? Are you feeling the relaxation of this moment, or are you finding yourself discovering new places of tension? All of this is a wonderful, wonderful path forward, because if you're finding those places of tension, you are coming on to those parts of your body right now that are asking to be seen and to be witnessed and experienced, and then you can let them go. And it can happen as quickly as just a single breath or maybe a few breaths, but the awareness of the pain or the tension, or the awareness of the pleasure and the joy and the opening and openness, these are all the gifts of this practice. I think that for many of us, we have joined into a cultural sort of amnesia that is this directed or pointed intentional loss of memory, or perhaps it's rather an avoidance of the reminders of the ways in which we have both been harmed and caused harm in our lives. And I don't know if this is a big thing to harp on or not. Some people will say, just let that all go and be in this moment, and you are not that person. Enough said. But I not even sort of, I sit in the camp that if I am unaware of these things that have shaped my being today, then I am unaware of how I am moving forward with those shapes. And if my emotions have been sharpened like a blade by trauma, and I am unaware or unwilling to sit with that experience and to feel what it is to have sharpened emotions, then I'm going to hurt someone. And I believe that there is a lot of benefit, not in living in the past, but in moving with those things that we carry, recognizing it and bringing it into the conversation at least. I keep coming back to Fred Rogers often. He said, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So if we can talk about what it is we're experiencing, what it is we're fearing, what it is we are angry about, or what hurts us, and if we can talk about the ways in which we have hurt others, usually by avoiding our own pain, then we can begin to come together and, if not accept one another, at least acknowledge one another's experience. Being a person who does a lot of grief work, both in my own grief and working with others in theirs, I have opportunity to sit in circles. And it's not just grief work that I do. It's a lot of recovery support or just emotional support as people are going through transitions in their lives. And this is part of the work of being a death midwife, and it's also part of the work of doing peer support work. And one thing that I notice, and noticing in others has helped me to really see it in myself a lot more, is the tendency that we have to repeat a story about our pain. Oftentimes, a story of blame, a story that tells how someone else hurt us and how terrible they are for that. And sometimes when people are given the opportunity to speak and sort of be in the center of attention, they will go directly to those stories that they have rehearsed time and again. We will find those stories of some of the most painful things we can think of and share those stories, but not from a felt place, but from a rehearsed, practiced mental space. And I've learned over time that if you are repeating the same story to more than a couple of people, you're not venting, you're practicing, you're rehearsing. And I don't think it's conscious, but I do think that what we are doing is practicing our story on different people until we find the reaction that we're hoping to get, which is oftentimes a reaction of support. Like, that person's so wrong, you are absolutely right. You know, I got your back. And the support is a wonderful thing. And being able to support one another, that's a beautiful gift that we have of having society the way that we have it, family structures and friends and all of that, is the ability to support one another and be supportive to one another. But the problem with the stories of our pain And when they consist of external blame and not stepping into acceptance and understanding and maybe even introspection onto how this thing may be really helpful to me right now. And I don't know why, but it may be. The inability to step into that and to continue to blame and then to be defended and supported in that story doesn't actually help us process or move through those painful experiences. What it does is it fortifies our belief that these painful experiences were caused by someone else for the intention of harming us, and we are the victim, and that person deserves to be punished. Generally, they're not being punished. And so we then form this strong belief of an unfair world. And then we build defenses. So even in the act of repeating that story, we're being re-triggered into this thing. But if we can tell a story that steps out of that subjective place of I'm going to stop, actually. I'm just going to stop mid-sentence. This isn't interesting to me right now. I want to get to the feeling, not the ideas. So let's sit for a second. Yes, that's it. I want to get to the feeling, not the stories. So when we have an opportunity to sit with other people who are holding space for us, or when we have the opportunity to hold space for someone else, let's not muddy it up with the practicing of a story. Let's see if we can take that moment, that opportunity, even if it's just you sitting with yourself, holding space for yourself, take that opportunity to go as closely as you can to the feeling. So there's this story of this thing that happened to me. And I could say, can you believe he did this and he did that, and it was terrible, and nobody was there, and everybody supported him and got his back, and nobody heard my story, and can you believe that? Or we can say, when I remember the way that I experienced that, I am brought right back into feelings of abandonment. It felt so isolating and lonely to not have support from people around me at that time. And so even now today, when I begin to come up against those fears, I remember that feeling in my body, and my body becomes overtaken by this feeling of being othered and left behind. And so I start to get defensive, and I start to get prickly. And I have a tendency now, because of that, to enter into relationships that I can avoid vulnerability. As an example, that's a way that we can connect to our feelings around an experience and not just the story behind it. But our culture wants to have a narrative of the stories of pain in the past that remove us from that experience, from that feeling. And that makes us think that when we tell stories of the past, that's something that happened a long time ago, and it has no relevance or bearing today. But I'm telling you right now, all of this does. All of this has bearing. And the sooner we can begin to hold that space for the way that we experience the feelings that inform the thoughts, that empower the beliefs that move us through life, the sooner we'll be able to begin to let go of beliefs that are no longer necessary. And we have to do this together. That's a requirement. And I don't see how self-help is helping anyone. We have to be able to do this together. I'm not making that rule. I'm just observing what works and what doesn't. So I was going to read some Mary Oliver this morning, but I think I want to go to Appalachian Elegy, which I think I have here. Yeah, I do have this here. Let's see. I believe that we left off on number 20. Yes. So today that means we are at 21. And I'm just going to show the book. Bell Hooks, Appalachian Elegy, Poetry and Place. It's a wonderful treatise on place. It happens to be the place that Bell Hooks grew up. So it's this love letter and this archaeology of their spirit and their bodies through the landscape. And it's in 66 parts, and we're working from the beginning all the way through. And I'm not reading ahead, so I don't know if today's poem is going to be relevant to today's sit or not, but we'll see. This is 21. Oh, lovely. Turtle islands everywhere. Heads poking out, bodies embraced in the world before the coming of the white man, a sea of calm. Where turtles rest on lands breathing life outside water, that turtles may play, fat, succulent, slow, enchanting us with strength to guard and protect a wall of hardness, store dreams of a world without humans, a wet world everlasting. It makes me happy to come to a poem in Appalachian Elegy today that talks about turtles, because I have a dear friend, Lily, who loves turtles. So it's nice to have that thought this morning. But also, when I think about what the representation may be here of, the turtle comes with this innate protection, this hard shell that can protect them. And this is simply a tool of their bodies, their biological function, that has worked. It's worked well for them. They're one of the oldest living species, and they live a long time as well. But what's interesting is the way that we anthropomorphize that into this creature represents defensiveness, when really, in many ways, turtles are quite vulnerable. But they have an intelligence to be able to seek safety when needed. But I think that they're probably well aware of how vulnerable they are in the world. Strong, sometimes fierce creatures, but our anthropomorphizing of that is cowardly. Whenever we make cartoons of turtles, as soon as they get a little scared, they tuck their head into their shell, and I think that maybe part of that is we don't have a healthy relationship with our own defense mechanisms. So we viewed the ability to protect ourselves as cowardly, and at the same time, we have so many defense mechanisms that we put up these big walls around ourselves that are impenetrable, and we think that that's keeping us safe. So it's this irony that we participate in all the time, where we actually don't know the ways to keep ourselves in loving and caring spaces and keep ourselves safe. And especially in a world where you can't always do that. How dare I have this conversation with the children of Gaza right now about keeping yourself safe? That's not even a question that they could ponder. So there are unsafe beings in this world. And I would say that most of the people taking up arms against children and dropping bombs on neighborhoods and starving human beings, they're probably functioning out of a very strongly defended belief that this is how they protect themselves. And they're so wrong, so entirely wrong. As much of us, many of us are, when it comes to the ways in which we protect ourselves. So using the turtle as an example of defensiveness, I don't think is necessarily the lesson. Because their vulnerability is really key. And their slowness is key. They don't move on our time. They move within their own time and their own connection to their bodies and into the world around them. And this, I think, is responsible for the longevity of their species. But in a very quick world, that slowness can be vulnerable. There's a Ross Gay poem called The Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. And it's a beautiful poem, and there's an amazing audio version of it where he plays with Bon Iver, and Ross Gay reads the poem, Bon Iver makes the music, and it's this gorgeous, almost 15-minute long piece. But one of the things that Ross Gay mentions being grateful for is the people who stop traffic to help move a turtle along out of the road. And I think about that because I think about this vulnerable creature helping this other vulnerable creature into safety in the midst of some of the most dangerous circumstances. And I think about that young person who stood in front of the tanks in the famous pictures of Tiananmen Square. This beast of thousands and thousands of pounds of steel and weaponry coming towards him, and him and his soft flesh just standing and refusing to move away. I think about the thousands of people who are in boats trying to get food and aid into Gaza and to the refugee camps. I think about the people who are on the front lines in Pakistan and India who are trying to stop the horrible violence that's taking place. I think about all of the ways in which the things that we do to actually create safety on this planet have to be the most vulnerable things. So I don't think it's about defensiveness that keeps us safe. I think it's our vulnerability. But what do I know? I'm just a soft animal. What a lovely What a lovely piece today from Appalachian Elegy. The turtles that play, fat, succulent, slow, enchanting us with strength to guard and protect a wall of hardness, stored dreams. Reminding us, the dreams. Dreams are in the center of us all. Thanks for being here this morning. I look forward to interacting with you. So if there's something about this sit that you particularly liked or did not like or have questions about, send a message or leave a comment. We're on Substack. If that's where you're seeing us, then you can get a free account on Substack and subscribe. Everything that we offer is always free of charge. If you'd like, you can do a donation-based, a monthly subscription as well. That helps cover some of the costs of all of these spaces and everything that we use to facilitate this sit. But engaging, I would like that. So thanks for being here. Hariom.